This will be a lot shorter of a video than last week's, which, if you haven't seen, was about comparing C41 and ECN2 developers using an overly complex method of slitting film into two halves, showing definitively that the marketing lie of C41 being a more active developer, which magically pushes your motion picture film, allowing it to be shot at a faster speed, is not true! So this week I'm going to show how the old marketing lie of removing Remjet allows you to shoot the film at a faster speed is also not true. For these tests, I did use two different cameras, both of which I've tested the shutter speeds on, and both cameras used the same lens. I used QWD brand bulk-loaded 250D with Remjet, and I used Reflex Labs 400D without the Remjet. Both shot at 250 and manually exposed for all examples. So unlike the last video, this isn't an exact frame identical match, but it's close enough to show that Remjet doesn't make a difference, or at least doesn't make a difference when it comes to exposure, contrast, or latitude. But there is a difference, which you might be able to see in this first example. Both halves were developed in ECN2. These are mirrored, but it's probably easier to see if I put the two examples on top of one another. Can you tell which is which? One does look a tiny little brighter. Is that 2/3 of a stop brighter like the marketing shills want you to believe? No, because actually the brighter one is the film that had the Remjet. I can zoom in here on the hand and see that the Reflex Labs Remjet removed film has slightly more halation around the highlights than the film with the Remjet. But why is the one with the Remjet slightly brighter? I assume it's because the Reflex Labs film was brand new, and the QWE brand film with the Remjet was a little older, thus increasing base fog, and maybe the lighting changed ever so slightly between the shots, but still, it's not a real difference. Now you may be thinking, oh well, what if you did it in C41 developer, not ECN, then maybe the non-Remjet one will be brighter. Nope, same result. Here's the other halves of each shot, this time developed in C41. Though the C41 halves of the Remjet film do have some excess fogging, probably caused from a contaminated stop bath, so it's a little brighter than it should be. This can be corrected, and now we see that the Reflex Labs non-Remjet film on the bottom is basically identical, except the bricks in the shadow appear more red. The reason for that, of course, is because halation is a global effect. It doesn't affect just highlights. Halation makes reds overall more red, but not enough to contribute even a third of a stop difference in exposure. It's entirely a saturation effect. We can really see the increased overall red effect in this example. Both sides are developed in ECN2, and the sky is notably more red on the half without Remjet than the sky on the side with Remjet. This has an added effect of warming the greens as well. The C41 halves show the exact same results. Red sky, warm trees, but these slight hue shifts are easily corrected and matched. So yes, removing Remjet obviously increases halation, as expected, and halation is a global effect, increasing the red layer saturation overall, but it does not contribute anything to exposure. Here's my crappy test chart showing the same thing again, this time with some increased contrast to make it more obvious. The non-Remjet film gets more red the more light that it's given. Now for you probably see this bottom image as more green depending on your screen. I keep my monitor a little more red, so when I see the top of this looking too red, I know it's probably perfectly balanced, if not slightly red, so in reality that non-Remjet frame on the top is probably nearly pure white with only a little extra red. But me, I'm seeing it as a little too red. So we now know that, once again, the people who said for years that because Remjet was removed from 250D or 500T, that it could be shot at 400 and 800, we're all just repeating the marketing lies that these companies made up as a cope to sell their film at a higher speed. Now you can shoot those films at those speeds because motion picture film has extreme latitude, but Remjet removal makes no difference when it comes to exposure. And since Kodak has recently removed Remjet entirely from motion picture film, you will now see people trying to pretend like this Remjet cope wasn't the line shills used for years, and that actually it's because C41 is a more active developer, which may be technically true, but is not the reason why you can shoot the film at a higher ISO. The only thing that gets you more exposure on film is more light, Period. End of story. I know exactly why Cinestill is comfortable selling their film at exaggerated speeds, because they've tested it and it outperforms Portra 800, which is exactly what they were targeting when they named their Remjet removed Vision 3 500T as 800T. And I'm not saying you shouldn't buy film from the companies that sell Remjet removed film. There are obviously many benefits to using the film. One, of course, is not having to remove Remjet yourself, which is trivial and doesn't take that long, but it's just one less thing you gotta do, so it's worth it to not have to do it. Also, every film lab will take film that's had its Remjet pre-removed. But that doesn't matter to me because most film labs suck anyway. Like, if you really care about film photography, you should be developing and scanning yourself. The majority of labs were tooled and focused for decades on quickly developing and printing grandma's disposable camera vacation photos, or little Timmy's 10th birthday party shot entirely without flash in a dark room. They are made for mass market consumer use and maybe hobbyists who just want to dip their toes into film photography, and their prices reflect that. My $100 Epson flatbed has easily paid for itself and produces way better scans than the high-res JPEG files 99% of labs will upcharge you for out of their Frontier or Noritsu photo scanner and inverter software from the 90s that was specifically designed to make 4x6 prints exclusively. I could go on ranting, but like I said at the beginning, I'll keep this one quick and I'll save my endless complaining for future videos. So make sure you get subscribed, leave a comment, press the like button, join channel members, and I'll be back next time with a brand new video that may or may not have anything to do with photography.